Welcome to my Learn English YouTube channel. Before we begin today's session, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more valuable content like this.
Okay, so picture this. You've just boarded your flight, you found your row, and you're ready to settle in for the long haul.
Ah, yes, the familiar pre-flight ritual.
Exactly. You've got your book, you've got your snacks, maybe you're even ready for a little nap.
Sounds idyllic.
But then, oh no, there's someone in your assigned seat.
That sinking feeling.
The worst, right. And it happens more often than you think. I'm sure many of our listeners have been there.
Absolutely. It's a scenario ripe with tension, all those unspoken rules of air travel suddenly coming to the forefront.
And that's exactly what we're diving into today with this really interesting YouTube clip I found.
Oh, this should be good.
Yeah, it's called Learn English. Conversation on the plane.
Okay, so an English language lesson with an airplane theme.
Exactly. It's meant for people learning English.
Yeah.
But the scenario they use is so relatable, it got me thinking about the whole etiquette of air travel.
I see a language lesson as a window into the cultural norms surrounding flying.
Exactly. So in this clip, we see a passenger. She's clearly frustrated because someone's in her seat, 18A.
18A, okay. Potentially not the most desirable seat on the plane.
Right, and I'm guessing she might have paid a little extra to get that specific seat, maybe to avoid being right next to the lavatory.
Yeah, that makes sense. Seat selection has become a big deal these days, hasn't it?
Huge. It's like a whole industry in itself. And, the airlines have really moved towards this model where they unbundle everything.
Right. The base fare might seem low, but then they get you with all these extra fees for baggage, for priority boarding.
And, of course, for picking your seat.
Exactly. It's become a major revenue stream for them. But it also changes the whole passenger experience, doesn't it?
Totally. Now, you're not just paying for a seat. You're paying for a specific experience. And when that experience is disrupted, well, people get upset.
Understandably so. I mean, think about it. You've carefully chosen your seat. Maybe you paid extra for it, and suddenly someone's sitting there like, it's no big deal.
Yeah, and in the clip, the woman even says, I paid more for this one. Which brings us to the whole world of airline fees and how they've really changed passenger expectations.
It's a fascinating shift. In the past, flying was seen as a more luxurious experience, but now with budget airlines and all these extra fees, it's become much more transactional.
Right. You're essentially buying each element of your journey piece by piece, and that can definitely lead to some conflict, especially when things don't go as planned.
And it makes the whole interaction even more fraught because now there's this sense of, I paid for this specific thing and I'm entitled to it.
Absolutely. And it also makes me wonder about the other passenger in this scenario, the one who's in the wrong seat.
Yeah. What's his deal? Is he being deliberately difficult or is there something else going on?
Because he does seem a bit hesitant to move.
Well, you have to remember, air travel is stressful, right? People are tired, they're anxious, they might be dealing with delays or jet lag.
Oh, yeah, totally. It's not always the most conducive environment for clear communication.
Exactly. So it's possible he simply misunderstood the situation, or maybe he also paid extra for that specific seat and he's just as attached to it as the woman is.
Or maybe he has a medical reason for needing that particular seat. We just don't know.
Right, we're only seeing a snippet of the interaction. We don't have his side of the story.
That's so true. It's easy to jump to conclusions, but there could be any number of reasons for his behavior.
And it's a good reminder to be patient and understanding. When we're traveling, everyone's got their own stuff going on.
Absolutely. Although I did find it interesting that he says they're all the same price, which we know isn't true because the woman immediately corrects him.
That's a classic avoidance tactic, isn't it?
Like maybe he just wants to avoid a confrontation, even if it means bending the truth a little.
Yeah, it's a common response when people feel cornered or put on the spot.
It reminds me of that saying, don't attribute to malice what could be explained by incompetence, or in this case, maybe just stress.
Exactly. Sometimes the simplest explanation is the most likely one.
Thankfully, in this clip, the flight attendant steps in to help resolve the situation.
The flight attendant, the unsung hero of air travel.
Totally. They have to deal with so much more than just serving drinks and snacks.
Absolutely. Their primary responsibility is passenger safety, of course, but they also play a crucial role in mediating disputes and enforcing the rules of the skies.
It's a tough job. They have to be diplomats and enforcers all at the same time.
And they do it all with a smile most of the time.
This whole scenario, even though it's just a short clip, It really highlights the complexities of modern air travel.
It really does. We've got the economics of seat selection, the psychology of passenger behavior in stressful situations.
And the vital role of the flight attendants in keeping things running smoothly.
It's like a microcosm of the whole flying experience packed into a few minutes of interaction.
Yeah, and it makes you think, what would you do in that situation?
Right. Would you insist on your assigned seat? Would you try to negotiate a swap?
Or would you just accept the situation and move on?
It's a question worth pondering, I think, because it really forces you to consider your own priorities and how you handle those kinds of stressful situations.
And it reminds us that a little bit of empathy and understanding can go a long way, especially when we're all crammed together in a metal tube hurtling through the air.
Well said. I think that's a great note to end on.
So next time you're flying, remember the lessons of 18A and maybe take a deep breath before you get too worked up about your seat assignment.
Sage advice, and who knows, you might even learn a little English along the way.
Exactly. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into the fascinating world of airplane etiquette.
It's been a pleasure, as always.
And to all our listeners out there, safe travels.
And may your flights always be smooth and your seatmates courteous.